all those people, man. And like I said, it takes a tribe, dude, and it starts with the family. So like I said, with us, dude, it's all about spouse, the family, the kids, man, and we all have to come together and make great things happen.
Vehicle are taking fire on primary and secondary positions, requesting immediate engagement from overhead control. Engage.
Hey everyone, this is it. This is episode number 5 of the Not So Special Forces podcast. I'm excited for today. We have an incredible Marine, an incredible story of service and what he's doing with his life after his service and what he's doing for the community out there and how he's taking care of veterans. We are feet wet. Let me go ahead and introduce you to a former U.S. Marine. His name is Russell Broughton. Russell, welcome to the podcast, my man.
Hey, man, thank you so much, Chris. This is honestly a blessing, and I really appreciate this opportunity to be able to kind of tell you what I've done and my short time in service. But I did a lot in those years, and just having the opportunity to tell you what I'm doing now. So
yeah, this is great. We met a very short time ago through Corey Murphy.
Yeah.
And it's just, Corey and I talked about the networking of Marines, and I kind of took a jab at the rest of the services on the other podcasts about them being so slow to want to come on board the podcast. And once again, U.S. Marines, first to fight, first to podcast.
That's right.
So in order for, you and I had a quick conversation, we kind of felt each other out, and then here we are, man. So thank you. This is cool, man. I'm excited for this one. And I think all the texting, I've done over the past week is just how excited we are to get into today, man. So this is cool, man. This is cool. So
yeah. Well, like I said, I'm genuinely excited about the whole thing. So
yeah, one of the things we spoke about offline about is, I served in a different era of you guys, man. Things were so completely different when I was in the Marine Corps compared to when, the whole experience was different. I served during a time of peace, even though we got into a lot of shit worldwide. It's just, we had Somalia going on. There was a whole bunch of stuff in Africa going on. We had the stuff going on in the Adriatic, but my time is not comparable to you guys. And even though we got the brotherhood connection of being Marines, it's truly an honor for me, man, to talk to you guys. We've gone through so much more at so far of a different pace, than I did. And so I want to get this story of yours preserved. I want to get your, what you're doing, and we'll get into it, but what you're doing for the community now and how you're giving back to make sure that people are able to live a life of purpose where they're able to find a tribe, and what you're doing for them, man. So once again, thank you. Thanks, man.
Thank you, man.
All right, man. So let's go back a little bit to the beginning, right? Where are you from? What prompted you to join the Marine Corps? That's one of the standard questions I like to ask. I always think it's neat how we all have different reasons, right? We all have a different why of why we chose the Marine Corps, man. So tell us about the childhood, where you're from, what you're into, and what prompted you to get you to join the Marine Corps.
Yeah, awesome, man. Man, I really, started just kind of my history of growing up. I grew up with, a single mom, with my brother. We're a year apart. I'm actually 13 months apart. He's an Army vet. So it was us two, my mom for the longest time. And, never really had a real father figure in our lives. So, fast forward, 9/11 happens, all that. My brother, he had dropped out of high school and was like, I'm going to go do something. He was a new dad, and ended up going to doing all the stuff and going to the Army. So, I was like super nervous for him because I was like, man, that just wasn't who he was. Long story short with that is like, he kind of inspired me really to get in, in a sense. Now there is a roundabout way about that. But so for me, my brother was in the Army. I got out of high school, man, and I didn't really have a lot going for me at all. I mean, I had nothing for me at all. I was college boring. Like I already knew I was going to fail out of that. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. And so I really just kind of lived the party life for a little while, doing that. And then I got in some trouble, nothing bad, like underage drinking stuff. And it kind of spiraled real bad. I never got in any trouble until I turned 18. And like 2 weeks after I turned 18, I got in some trouble. And then, like I said, it spiraled into like a 30-day stint in Johnson County Jail here in Indiana. And
Yikes.
So anyways, so I did that. And I'm from Seymour, Indiana. I apologize. I am from Seymour, Indiana. So anyways, I get in there and I'm like, I really had to process a lot of stuff in there. I did Christmas, I did New Year's, and I was like, man, this is just not for me. Like I'm not a bad person. I just, making bad choices. So, you know, I got out of jail, man, and my brother was over in the army, and he was getting ready to go to Iraq, and I was like, man, he seemed like he had all the things going for him, and I was like, man, maybe that's what I need to do. So I went up to the recruiter, and I don't think the army guy was there. I can't really remember the whole thing, but next thing you know, I had in the Marines office, and he
Man,
does.
that is two Marines I've talked to now where the Army recruiter wasn't around, so they got
Yeah,
snatched up by the Marine Corps. So
yeah,
Army recruiters, if you guys spend some more time in the office, maybe your numbers will be up.
yeah. Take some notes, guys. Come on, take some
Yeah.
notes. Um, but no, like, so I get there, I'm talking to this Marine recruiter, and I'm just like, to be honest with you, man, I had really no idea. Outside of like the little bit my brother had been in the army, like I had no idea about the military. I knew my great grandfather was in the military, like he was in the army. Um, but I really wasn't close to him. I didn't really know him that well, So, anyways, next thing you know, this guy kind of like, hey man, you want to go travel the world? You want to, go do this and go do that? The dress blues, and just, he suckered me right in, man. And so next thing you know, I'm going into boot camp, or going into MEPS and doing all that stuff with my recruiter. And we'll just say, like, from when I got out of jail in January, I was in MCRD San Diego by March of
Fantastic.
that year,
Now, what year was this?
2007.
All right, 2007. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So you got out of jail. You joined the Marine Corps during a time of war. I mean, you knew Afghanistan was going on. You knew Iraq was going on, and you joined the military. Um, did you have any thoughts, reservations? Were you hoping not to go to war? Were you hoping it was going to wind down, or were you just in it for the ride?
To be honest with you, man, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was very passionate about, 9/11, that whole thing. I mean, it really did. I think it chilled the entire nation, obviously. I mean, that's
Oh yeah.
something that nobody will ever forget. That always played my mind, still rolling in the TVs to our classrooms watching that. So that, that had a big impact on it, but, it was more one of those things where I just, like I said, man, I was like, dude, I got to do something, or I'm gonna be dead or in prison. I just took the leap, and, uh, I wish I would have tried a little harder, like on the ASVAB. Like, I didn't try very hard. I'm not gonna lie, man. I was kind of like, all right, the guys used to make fun of me in Iraq, say I was just like a hippie. As long as I had a place to sleep and to eat, man. I mean, that's just how I used to be. You know what I mean? I just super chill, just like to hang out. That's all I like to do. However, the Marine Corps really wasn't like that. So, anyways, my best friend I was in high school with, man, he come and visit me. He was kind of going down a bad path too, and he's come to see me literally right before I was going to leave, like the week before I was going to leave, and or maybe 2 weeks before I was going to leave for boot camp. And I talked to him. I was like, man, just talk to the recruiter, dude. Talk to the recruiter. And my buddy Joel Berkshire, man, Berkbone, I love him. But anyways, he ended up, like, within 2 weeks, we're standing at MCRD San Diego together, like across from each other. Like, what are we doing here, dude? Because he was like me, man. Like, we were just kind of in for the ride, you know?
So you guys joined at different recruiter appointments, but you guys were standing on the yellow footprints together?
Yeah, well, no. So like I went through the whole process, and then, like I said, there was like 2 weeks before I was going to leave. My recruiter was doing something with me, and I was had to go do something, my paperwork or something. And he was coming to pick me up because I didn't have a car, man. Like, I had nothing. 20 years old, and so, anyways, Joel was there, and he happened to see him, and he just started talking to him. And next thing you know, Joel signed up with my recruiter, and we're gone, shipped together.
Okay. Hell yeah.
So it was pretty wild, man. And the boot camp experience, man, especially when you're going from like a guy that, like, you know, doing all the dumb teenager stuff together. Next thing you know, you're like in some real stuff, man. Like, you got guys yelling at you, like I said, man, like, I kind of knew what to expect, but like I didn't really know what to expect. And so anyways, we did the boot camp together, and that was awesome. Well, it wasn't awesome at the time. It's funny now. Like, most of it's like extremely funny, dude. It's like,
Oh, there's so many times, man, you look back, right? And
yeah,
then you look back and you laugh, right? I
well,
mean, just some of the stupid shit that you hear, some of the stupid shit you see, and just and the drill instructors and the senior drill instructors' response to that stupidity, man. I have no idea how those guys are able to hold a straight face, man, when they're dealing
oh,
with some of the
oh my,
knucklehead shit they run into, man. Because looking back, I'd like there's one or two things specifically, and like you, I went through boot camp with a guy with a real good friend of mine, man. The guy was like my best friend growing up. His name was Vinny La Riviere, and Vinny Vinny and I, man, I know looking back, man, we had to say some stupid shit, had some stupid responses, and just to get that freaking smoke in your face, and you can smell the guy's Copenhagen as he freaking yells and spits in
Yeah.
your face, man. But looking back, I'm like, I got no idea how that guy did not absolutely just break out in laughter. How
That's
stupid some of us
hilarious.
were, man.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, like, and like, they're just like, it's almost like, like if you really think about it, like boot camp is just like a it's almost like a crazy like prison almost. Like we get the most like the dumbest stuff as far as like we'd have guys like peeing in each other's water bottles, like just they're like canteens, like the dumbest stuff, dude. Like, and no, it's like we would all get trashed for it, on the quarter deck. And but man, it's like some of those times, like I wish I could go back just to do it for like 2 days, like just to go
Right.
through that for 2 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If I could go back, I would like to like see myself in that environment, like just be like an invisible ghost or something, just to see how, just to see how maybe how ridiculous all of it was or how badass it was. So
Dude,
hell
oh
yeah.
my gosh. No, it's funny you say that because like I think about that a lot. Like I used to have some boot camp pictures, man. Well, I think I might have sent you one or two. But so my stepdad one time when I was a kid, man, he shaved I cut my hair and I shaved my head all the way down. And like I was bald, man, and he called me wingnut for the longest time, dude. Like, cause like I got these big ears. Anyways, man. Uh so the whole time I was in boot camp, they're like, I would get so much stuff about like my ears. I look ridiculous, dude. But yeah, well, I kind of miss some of those days, man. It was fun. But moving on to like SOI, end up going to the School of Infantry out there at Pendleton.
Well, now, what were you able to secure your MOS with the recruiter before you went to boot camp, or did you go open contract 03 or what? What you do? Because you
Yeah,
mentioned School of
I just
Infantry.
went. Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, so when I went to boot camp, I just went for 03. I think you have to go 0311. I'm pretty sure. And then once I got into my SOI, that's when you could apply. And I guess you got to test into certain mortarmen or saltmen, which I don't even think they have a saltman anymore, or machine gunner. So, anyways, for mortarmen, I can't remember if I said that one or not, but so you had to take a test to do that. Like I said, I was telling you the other day, like it's funny because like my machine gun instructor, like I'll never forget this dude. He was a monster. I mean, this dude was just jacked. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, here I'm doing it. I'm like, oh man, like machine gun, like that looks like the coolest thing to shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna be in war, man. I want a machine gun. Like, lay it down. So anyway, somehow it all worked out. I, made it through the deployments. Well, Iraq, I was mounted, but in Afghanistan, I got lucky. I was a squad leader, so I didn't have to carry a gun. But even the training though, man, it was rough. The training's rough. Carrying them 50 cals and Mark 19s and the tripods and the barrels and all the things, man. It gets heavy.
So you, where did you do School of Infantry at? Where was that at?
Pendleton.
Or out on Pendleton?
Yeah.
So boot camp's done. You went through School of Infantry. You became an 0331 machine gunner, right? They introduced you to fields of fire and all that, and
Oh yeah.
operating the weapon systems. You guys had the 50 cals. You guys had the Mark 19s. The M240Gs were around for quite some time by that time. And then was the squad automatic weapon, the 249, was that out there for you too, as an
That was in the
0331
line
or no?
platoons. That
Okay,
was
all right.
with the line platoons. Yeah, that wasn't
Okay,
considered part of our MOS.
okay, all right. So then after School of Infantry, where did you end up?
So I ended up in Camp Lejeune, which was pretty cool. It was better, honestly, better. Like I loved California, man. Don't get me wrong. Like, I actually really like California. Like as far as like the weather, like man, some of the best days of my life. Like I'll never like. I got some buddies I still talk to from boot camp and SOI and stuff. And it's like, man, I wish I could go back there and stay. Like, I wish I would kind of got stationed out there, but anyways, got out there at Lejeune, which was cool. I was a little closer to the family. I was about 12 hours away from home, so that wasn't too bad. And then my buddy Joel that I joined with, he went to MCT. I can't remember where they do that at, but he went somewhere else to do that. He did Motor T.
Okay.
So yeah, we ended up on Lejeune together, but different units. Like I ended up with 3rd Battalion 6th Marines, Kilo Company, weapons platoon, and I don't even know what he ended. I can't remember. He was on motor pool somewhere. But yeah, so that's where I ended up at, man. That's where it kind of all started, real fast.
How was your time? How was your time in Lejeune, man? Did you enjoy being there out on Onslow Beach and going up and
Yeah,
down Western Boulevard? How was that?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad, man. Jacksonville, dude, I'll be honest with you, I really wasn't a fan of going out in Jacksonville, like, you know, back in the days, like, I mean, the only time you go out there is, to get wild, you know what I mean? And, other than that, like, I really didn't go off base a whole lot other than to, go out with the guys on the nights we went out, but, I like the backs I can't remember what they called it, there's like a little island off the backside of it. That area back there was pretty chill. I spent a
Okay.
lot of time in Wilmington. Um,
Well, yeah, Wilmington's yeah, beautiful city, man. It's a good
yeah,
time, short drive, and it's kind of you get away from the Marine Corps, man.
yeah,
Get away from that, get away from that whole the whole yeah, I mean, get away from Jacksonville, right?
yeah, yeah. Well,
So
it was either like Wilmington or Myrtle Beach, man. We spent a lot
yeah,
of time in Myrtle Beach too. I'd
yeah,
go
north.
down there a lot.
Yeah, I mean, all the same stuff was happening, man. Because when I was stationed in Lejeune before I light moved to the wing, we spent time down in Wilmington. We had gone down to Bike Week down in Daytona, and I think one week too. Think there was 3 of us, Julio Rodriguez, Nick Sangil, and myself. I think we went down to Myrtle Beach for Black Biker Week, man, and that was a riot. We
oh
had a
my
good
God.
time. Yeah. Yeah. So I think Biker Week happened and then something we were like, "Hey, let's go check out Myrtle this weekend." We rolled right into Black Biker Week, man. We had a hell of a good time, man. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
but all the same things are still happening, man, so that's cool.
yeah, yeah,
So,
dude.
yeah. So,
Myrtle Beach kind of got wild, man. We had a lot of wild stuff. No, I don't even want to get into it. I don't know if I can even talk. There's some wild
no.
stuff that happened down there.
All good, man. I understand. I understand. So how was 3-6, man? The wars have been going on. How was the overall morale, tempo? Did you guys, when you got there, were you getting right into workups to, go on deployments? Did they just get back? Were you guys slated to go? What was going into 3-6 when you joined them?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was actually really, really glad you asked that because, man, we got there and so out of all the machine gunners from SOI, like, so the boot drop and machine gunners was just me and another dude, like in my company. So it was me and another dude, my one of my best friends, dude, Chris Warbat, dude. If he sees this, man, I love him. It was just me and him, dude. And everybody, all of our senior Marines were still on deployment, man. They were out in Fallujah. Um, and had a really pretty tough deployment. My squad leader, I can't remember his name now. I mean, he was kind of when they got back, a lot of those guys got straight out. But one of them, man, one of my senior guys, man, first met, dude, he come back and he had gotten 2 Purple Hearts. He gotten blown up, and then he got shot in the neck, dude. I don't know. He had this gnarly scar across his neck. He got shot on post, man. But those guys had went through some real stuff, man. I mean, they come back and yeah, I wouldn't say like I got very lucky. I had some really solid leaders, man. When I got there, like some guys, they want to eat me up as a boot. I mean, especially when you only get 2 boots, like usually when you get back from deployment, you're expecting at least like 10. They get back, they get me and Chris, and so, we got played with a lot. We got played with a whole lot, man. And if you're not familiar with like the infantry lifestyle, man, it's it's like a frat house, man. It's like a frat house that like I told you the other day, it's a cult, man, and there's a reason why because most people don't understand what happens at those in those places. Other than that, like I said though, man, I did have some really good leadership and teach me a lot. Teach me a lot. And them guys are really dead set on making sure we were squared away and doing the right things. And so I ended up getting I ended up getting pulled from 3-6 right before Iraq. We were doing a workup. So I got out of boot camp. So I went to boot camp in March. So I say, June, July-ish area. I can't remember. I think it was July when I got out of boot camp and did all that. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. So you had 2, you had 2 new boot, machine gunners. You were one of them. You had the
Yeah.
other guy, right?
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay.
you landed at 3-6. The frat house environment took over a little bit. They were making sure you guys would get squared away at the same time, and then, you ended up getting pulled from 3-6, and then, you went to another battalion landing team?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
all good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, they were like, we're out at a field op, man. I'd only been with them for probably like I said, maybe 6 months. I was with them, maybe a little longer. I can't remember. But next thing they're like, hey, we need to take one of your, boots, talking to my senior guys. And somehow I can't remember, but I ended up getting slated to go to 310. 3rd Battalion, 10th Marines mortar. They do artillery. So I went there, which was pretty awesome actually, because another guy I was in high school with, he actually had went and got in like maybe 3 months before me, and we ended up in the same company together on 310. Robbie Hayes, if he sees this, I love you, brother. He's out in Hawaii now, man. But anyways, so me being a machine gunner with that experience, I was mounted. We needed somebody with more experience with the 50 cals and the different things. To be honest with you, I can't even remember if we even had more 19s on that deployment. Neither here nor there. But that was a pretty easy deployment, man. Iraq, dude, we did 7 months. To be honest with you,
All
like
right. All right, well, let's hold up a second. So you get to this new unit, right? So it's an artillery unit. They needed machine gunners, so you're there. And then what happens? How soon, can you remember how soon you got to the unit until you get shipped out to your first deployment, which was mentioned Iraq a few times, so I'm assuming.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
So
Now, was it a full workup, once you got to 310, doing a full-blown, MEU type of workup, or did they just throw you guys on an airplane and you guys flew over and you joined, the guys that were already on the ground?
no, yeah. So no, I got to 310. I got there. I think I was with them maybe for. I don't think it was a full workout, man. I would say I was probably there for about 8 months, maybe. Um, Before my deployment. So and it was a pretty easy transition. Everybody was pretty cool. And they had kind of taken. I mean, we had some O311s. We had dipped from 1.6 and 3.6. I mean, these different units. So it was kind of nice having at least some different guys who had went through because like I said, the infantry units are a little bit different than the artillery units and things like that. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
saying completely different, but the lifestyle of how you get treated as a boot there is can be pretty rad sometimes. But so it was kind of nice. You get over there and it wasn't too bad. Everybody's kind of, I mean, not nice, but nicer. So you kind of take that, yeah, take that for what it is. But I'm glad I actually got to do that, man. And to be honest with you, now that I look back, a lot of guys give me shit for it, pretty bad. Like, oh, there, didn't do nothing. Like I think we had in that deployment, I think we had like one truck get shot at, maybe one that got hit. I don't even think it was like real bad. I can't remember. Honestly, I can't remember. Um, but
So
it
you
was
end up in I so you end up in Iraq, right, with this artillery unit, right? Now, were they, what part of Iraq did you guys end up in?
so I was in Al Assad, man. Al Assad, to be honest with you, I don't know exactly where that's at on a map there. And that's the
Okay.
crazy. Like I said, man, I couldn't tell you any of that. Like, but I was on Al Assad, big air base, man.
Air base, right.
Yeah, so that's where we were like based at. Um, Now my brother Joel, that I joined with, he ended up at Al Assad too. So we got to kind of link up a couple times there, maybe once actually, I can't remember, but that was kind of nice. But basically out of there, we did convoy security, man. Did the big convoys of semis and all the people and the things. You know what I mean? Whatever needed to go from point A to point B, we did it. So the best part about that deployment that I think that I loved was I did get to see a lot. I got to I was outside the wire. Honestly, I would say we were outside the wire more than we was in. Or
Okay.
in a sense, you know what I'm saying? Besides sleeping, I mean, but we were always every day. You're pretty much getting out. But
So just for my own knowledge and also for the viewers and listeners of the podcast, you have an artillery unit that's Al Assad Air Base in Iraq, right? Now, was there a gun line set up there because you were with artillery, or were you all mobile? And if they needed it, then you guys would leave to send rounds down range because you were doing the convoy security. So just hearing you talk, I'm thinking that, yeah, these are artillery guys, but we need them over here. And then if we need, for whatever reason, if we need the howitzers or heavier weapons to get deployed, then they would bring you guys back, and then you would roll out and set up the gun line, and then you would be tasked with doing the security for the gun line, right?
yeah, no, to be honest with you, man, we didn't do any of that like at all.
Okay.
We literally just did convoy security. That was it, man.
Okay.
I mean, I never, to be honest with you, man, it's kind of crazy if I think of the only artillery things I even saw that during that entire time I was at 310 was like the ones they had outside their barracks, man. I never saw them shoot
Oh,
one. Like I was
oh,
really
the
hoping, like,
static displays.
yeah, like I was hoping I get to go see them do some shoots. Like I never got to see any of that, man. Like, so,
All right.
so yeah,
So
I'm kind of disappointed.
how was it? Yeah, it'd be like getting attached to a helicopter unit, man. I'd never seen a helicopter, right? So,
Yeah, dude. That's kind of what it was.
yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we just was mounted the whole time, and
All right. So you guys are rolling around. Were there any engagements that you can remember? You mentioned that you had an easier time, but that could be subjective, and then also comparable. Your first time. Do you remember the first time leaving? You're like, oh, this is it. You're new in Iraq. You're a machine gunner. It's your first time leaving Al Assad, leaving the safety of there, and then going out to one of the because you guys had the threats of IED, snipers,
yeah,
insurgents and all that. So do you remember what it was like your first time rolling out? Were you nervous? Did you guys get into it or, you know?
yeah, no, yeah, I do. I vividly remember it, man, and at least that not maybe the first time. I remember the first couple times. That just the headspace of like, this is what you're watching the movies. You know what I mean? And I was sitting there thinking like, man, recruiter lied to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I doing here? But no, man, it was it was pretty intense, dude. But I think once you do the training, I mean, when you train, it is, radio operator or machine gunner, man, training's training. And, when you train and that's all you do is, the same things and just repetition, man. It's like you get that headspace of, you just, you kind of expect the worst. You know what I mean? You kind of expect it. And if it's a good day, you take that, and be grateful. You know, it was kind of crazy. Hit, I don't know if you ever heard, there's a little town called Hit. Um, It was right outside of Al Asad, and that place was, like, shot at pretty bad, man. I'll never forget the first time I saw that. I think that's really when the first time I'll never forget that, like, cruising through, I'm on my 50 cal, and, I see this building all blown up, shot and blown up, and I was like, "Okay," this is real. This is very real, yeah, it was intense, man. But, oh, and going outside the wire out there, I remember they had a sign that said, complacency kills. To be honest with you, I think I had to ask somebody what complacency meant because I didn't even know what it meant. Dude, just to be straight up, I was like, at the time, like, I had no idea. I was like, what does that even mean? And they're like, yeah, like, make sure you're watching, at all times. Like, you got to be on point, and, that really kind of hit me too. Like, people out here losing their lives, and, yeah, it was a pretty intense feeling, man.
Do
Especially
you
as a
remember do you remember any of your downtime at Al Assad? How was that, man? Were you guys a bunch of knuckleheads shooting cards, PX
yeah,
stuff, watching movies? What you guys do during your downtime there?
yeah,
How'd you guys
yeah.
how were you guys able to decompress in Iraq after you get done, doing security on a convoy?
Yeah, no, well, yeah, I mean, our downtime in Iraq was pretty cool, man. Like, so when we was in Al Asad, we had like our own little cans. They were AC, dude, wasn't bad at all. I mean, the worst part about that deployment, as far as like our living conditions, was when we were out. Because sometimes we would get somewhere and late at night, 2, 3 in the morning, something happens, you broke down or whatever. Excuse me. You might get to a base and not have a place to sleep for the night, or so that was honestly kind of the worst part of that. But like I said, man, I got to outside of that too, though. Like, I got to see everything, and I got to see. I wish I would have took more pictures. I don't have any pictures, man. I think I have like literally 3 pictures of Iraq. I lost the hard drive that I had, but it was really cool, man. It was really cool, and I got to go to Qatar. As part of something I got selected to go do, so that was a really cool experience, and never expected that to ever happen in my life. So
Yeah, the Marine Corps is definitely very opportunistic where they get to send us, man. So you get done with that deployment, and you guys head back to Camp Lejeune, and then what was that time? Because now you got what you're a lance corporal by now, right? You got a
yeah,
deployment under your belt. Now you get to treat the new boots the way you were treated, right?
yeah,
So what was that experience like coming back? Did you have any
yeah,
type of issues at all going from Iraq and jumping right back into Jacksonville, North Carolina,
yeah.
or was that pretty chill?
No, and actually, real quick, so another thing that happened in Iraq that I told you offline was, I had my brother was over there in Iraq, so he was in TQ. Um, I wish he was here to tell the story. He remembers it better than I can now. But he was in TQ, and I guess he was, on the BFT, the Blue Force Tracker. I guess his convoy passed my convoy. He knew I was on that convoy. I didn't have a clue that he knew it. So, anyways, uh, next thing you know, I get it down. Comes down the chain of command. They're like, "Hey, next time we go to TQ, um, your brother's going to pin you Lance Corporal in Iraq. So I got one picture that I shared with you, man, but it's so blurry, dude. Like I almost didn't even send it, but like whatever, dude, it's worth it. But that's something, man, that having a little brother, dude, that's been so close to you. Man, me and that dude has been through hell and back together, as kids, and just you know fighting at the bus stop. I mean, over who's wearing each other's socks and underwear. You know what I mean? That's how we grew up, and to be over in Iraq, you know what I mean? And you're a Marine and your brother's in the army, and uh, man, that was probably one of the most special things that ever happened to me.
Now, did I hear that right? You said your brother pinned on your E3 or Lance Corporal. Did I hear
Yeah,
that right? Oh,
yeah,
that's cool, man. So,
yeah.
how did that happen, man? Tell us about that. Was it something, just two convoys rolling by each other? You guys stopped, hopped out, pinned it on, and went your separate ways, or was it something the two commands got together and and set up and made a thing about it, or was it? The,
Yeah, no, so, yeah, so I was on a convoy, and then he was on a convoy, and I guess he passed me, dude, with a BF, he saw me on his BFT, my name on there, and, so next thing you know, like, gets down next thing you know, my chain of command's getting at me, and they're like, "Hey, your brother's over there in TQ, um, and, we was gonna try to get you over there. Next time we go over that way, we're gonna get you pin Lance Corporal," and, have him do that. So, it was a blessing to get to do that, man, and to have that experience because
how long were you able to spend with them during that moment in time? Was it a couple minutes, a couple hours, a day?
oh, yeah, no, no, so, yeah, we got the TQ, and no, it was, like, maybe a few hours tops. I mean,
Okay,
usually we get where we're going, we drop it. We did a whole ceremony, and there's
cool.
some pictures floating somewhere, just not where I've got them. So
All right. All right. So you're back in Lejeune, man. What's going on there for you?
yeah, fast forward, get back from Iraq, hung out with 310 for, I don't know, maybe a month, 2 months. Well, I did my oh, sorry, dude. I keep forgetting about this. So my oldest son was born when I was in Iraq as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of a hairy situation. I won't get into all of it, but he was born in September, maybe about a month before I got back from Iraq.
Okay.
So, coming back and, never getting to see your kid, and, what I mean? There's a lot going on with that, man. And so, get home from Iraq, and, first thing I did was, well, I was hoping that my family would be there. I got back, man, everybody's like, families are there, and nobody was there for me, which I get. My mom was working. She's a single mom doing her thing, and yeah, everybody's got their things going. So I get back, I actually, like, I think I walked to the PX and got some clothes. I didn't have any clothes. I had nothing, dude. So did that. And then, I kind of hung out with my buddy, Andrew Beeman's family, man. It's one of my best buds from over there in Iraq with 310, man. He's a good dude. But his
So
family,
when was this first time you saw your son then? Was it immediate as soon as you guys landed or you got back or did some time go by before you're actually able to meet him and see him for the first time?
yeah, we did. I think it was like you got to do like 2 weeks of a post deployment like decompression. So we hung out there. I was kind of hung out by myself, doing the things, the armory stuff, all the little things, and then about 2 weeks after that, I got to go home and see him and hold him, and
Okay.
he was born with this like hole in the back of his throat, dude. So like that was kind of rough. You had to like watch feeding him a certain way. It was pretty hardcore. So, like, I mean, and that's the thing too. That was really hard, dude, to come home to a kid. Even though, like, Iraq, like I said, man, to me, Iraq was not a bad deployment at all. I mean, I ate pretty good. I mean, but getting back home and then having to deal with like, okay, well now I've been with the guys for this long. I've been, still mentally, your mind is going a million miles an hour just from that. You know what I mean? I'm not, in no way saying that's a PTSD or, nothing like that. At the same time, like that first time you feel that, um, that sign of, or see that sign of, this is real, dude. Like this is really real. When you're watching everything. I mean, in that turret. I mean, you just turret all day long. So, you get back from that, and like I said, nothing happened to me at all. But even just getting back and coming back to like having to, I got this baby. He was probably, like I said, 2 months old, maybe 3 months old, and I got to come home and be, play dad for like 2 weeks. I didn't have a house there. I stayed with my mom, and that was really hard, dude. It was really hard to go through all that. That was a was a lot. It was tough, man. But at the same time, the thing is that like I grew up without a dad. My real dad, man, he's always been kind of here, and then he's gone for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And to me, it's like getting to see my and hold my own flesh and blood for the first time, and uh, it really changed my life, dude. I was like, dude, I gotta come
Yeah,
home.
I remember the first time I first, experienced holding my son for the first time, man. You feel immortal.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that was like I mean, yeah, happy, but that looking back and then I just remembered like an overwhelming sense of immortality, you know. So,
yeah. And I mean, you got this little dude looking at you, and you're like, man, like I just did that. Granted, like I said, nothing bad happened. At least for me. At the same time, you get back and you're like, what's next? You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
um, I do that for 2 weeks, and then go back to Lejeune, and shortly after that, they end up transferring me back to 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines. Uh,
Okay. All right. So what was that, now had 3-6 had just gotten back, or were they getting ready to go, or were they
yeah.
down, or what was going on with 3-6 after you got transferred back to them?
So 3-6, yeah, they had deployed basically at the same exact time we did. I think they went back to Fallujah, a certain part. I can't remember exactly where they went to during that deployment, but yeah, they had just gotten back. I think they got back like maybe even 2 weeks after I did. So it wasn't very long. It was pretty close in, but we get back, and I go back to 3-6, and next thing you know, a lot of guys started getting out. A lot of the senior guys started getting out, man. Which you know, we had, like I said, I had really good seniors before I went. Before I even went to 310, man. A lot of those guys, man. I mean, just some of the most badass humans you'll ever meet. You know what I mean? Like it's insane to think about. What those guys have been through as well. And so like anyways, so we get back. I get back to 3-6. A lot of guys start leaving. Next thing you know, it's just me and Chris. We're literally the only two senior machine gunners left. I mean, so and we had one guy, Danny Buckwitz, man. He's up in Gary, Indiana. I just went and saw him a few months ago, or about a month ago. He stuck around. A lot of the other guys, Champ, Benison, who else I missed? I missed a bunch of them, but a lot of those guys got out, and but he ended up staying. He didn't do the deployment to Afghanistan, but he did the whole workup with us, to make sure that me and Chris, because we ended up getting a boot drop of man, I want to say we got like 12 or 14 machine gunners, give or take
Mm,
4 or 5. I can't remember exactly how many it was, but we ended up getting a bunch of boots. You know what I mean? And it's just me and Chris. My buddy Danny, man, he stuck around and helped us that whole workup, and thank God for him, man. I tell him that every time I see him because I got back. Like I said, I wasn't on a very and their deployment wasn't. Well, I don't really know. I can't. I wasn't there. They had some stuff go on there, obviously. But uh, it wasn't. Theirs was way harder than what mine was. So like I get back from this kind of PUD deployment. I get back, and I got to go to Qatar. I got selected to go to Qatar. I think it was like 3 of us that I think. I know it was just me and another guy when I went for my unit. Um, get back, and next thing you know, we're doing the workup, and you're now I'm a brand new leader. I'm a leader now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, like now I'm in charge of people's lives. You know what I'm saying? Like this next one's all me. And I have a
is that
lot of
something
uh,
is that something you felt you were prepared for?
yeah. To be honest with you, I felt like I look back at it now, man. I talk to a lot of my guys. Well, not a lot, but I talked to a few of my guys still here and there, and I feel like I had a lot of good leadership traits, but I feel like I could have done way better. I mean, I could have. I
We
mean,
always I mean, that's just the nature of it, man.
yeah,
I mean, that in itself to me is a sign of good leadership, thinking that you can always do more. You thinking you always could have done better, even if the results are positive, right? You can always look back. And I think so I don't think that's anything too far off,
yeah,
from to me, that tells me you're a principled leader if that's what you're thinking,
yeah,
I don't think any good leaders go, "No, I did enough," or "I did exactly what I needed to do, and I nailed that,"
yeah,
so
and yeah, you're right, man. It's one of those things where like you know back in those days, man, you're young, man, and everything's going so fast, dude. And like I said, man, tie in being a new leader. back at this unit that already somewhat doesn't, I mean, I wouldn't say they didn't respect me at all, but at the same time, like, they get back, and even my buddy Chris, he's one of my best friends, dude, Chris Wervath, man. And, he still will give me, shit about like, oh, he's over there with them. Like, I'm like, oh, I mean, it is what it is, but so, and then you take that and then you tie in having a new kid and, you got a baby at home and he's got these problems and, you know what I mean? You're sitting there like, man, like I need to be a dad. And like the whole thing was never, ever going to work. You know what I'm saying? As far as that relationship. And, and it is what it is, but we drug it out. I promise you that. We'll get to that later.
All right.
Uh, but yeah, man, that was hard. It was just hard being a leader back then because, like I said, a lot of my mind was tied up at home and just kid. And you know what I mean? I got a girl pregnant who's a brand new mom, and she, what I mean, she don't know what she's doing either, and she's young, and what I mean, it just, I wish I was more mentally into my Marines better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're there. Now you mentioned Afghanistan, right? So you guys were back in Lejeune and they ultimately get deployed to Afghanistan.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Okay. So the one thing I'm always interested in hearing when I talk to you guys is I only know what I know, right? So I only know how things were back when I was in, and a lot of things have changed, right? So for us, when I was in, it was just a constant cycle of a Mew coming back, a Mew going out, a Mew
yeah,
doing a workup, a Mew going out, a Mew coming back, right? And then if something kicked off, a couple guys, we would get diverted, go here, go to Somalia.
yeah,
We got to take a group of these guys, get at C-130 and go there. But now we have Iraq going on. We've got Afghanistan going on. We got operations in Africa. I mean, we were busy. The country was at war on multiple fronts. So my question to you is do you guys get called to formation? Do they say, hey, this is what's happening. This is what we're doing. This is when we're leaving. Or was it something that was like on a schedule for you guys to go to Afghanistan?
mm. To be honest with you, like from what I remember, man, it was like, you know, we we did like the kind of like just your typical workup stuff. I mean, like, we did the armory stuff for a while, you know what I mean? Like I said, we got a bunch of new Marines, a bunch of new Marines compared to just me, Horvath and my buddy Buckwitz. So, it was a lot of like just that initial getting things going. And, a lot of that. And then I would say it wasn't, to be honest with you, I mean, unless, like I said, man, everybody else could have done. I feel like I said, man, my Marine Corps career, like I really was kind of like, hey, man, I was here. As far as being told when we're going to Afghanistan, like, I don't think I remember knowing until like maybe like 5 or 6 months before.
Okay.
And when we went to like 29 Palms, I think that's when it started kind of clicking of like, okay, this is what we're doing. We started doing the helicopter ditching stuff. So that's when we kind of knew we were going to Afghanistan. But like to know what we were actually going to do, I didn't know anything until we really got there. That it was like, we knew
Okay.
we were part of this 30,000 push surge or whatever by the President Obama. But yeah, I didn't know until we got there. Like, okay, they're like, okay, hey, this is what you're doing.
So when you guys got to Afghanistan, did you have any immediate comparisons to your time in Iraq? Or did you for what I'm interested to know about like when you got there in Afghanistan, was it a complete obviously it's a culture shock, the train's different, right? You're factually you're in a different country. The tasking, the enemy, all that's different, did you have any expectations? Did you have any fears? Did you have any hopes when you landed there?
Yeah. You know, honestly, like, well, I remember when I first got into Afghanistan, man, one of the first things I really noticed, uh, it seemed like the weather wasn't as dry. It didn't seem as dry, which we were in there. We got there, I think it was like right at January, like mid-January. Yeah, we were there for about a month before we did the push. But yeah, it was like the weather was kind of, it's kind of wet. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like super dry. Like Iraq, man. You're in a MRAP or whatever, dude. That feels like somebody's blowing like a blow dryer in your face. You know what I mean? All the time. So that was one thing I noticed too, man. But other than that, like as far as like being on like Camp Leatherneck, like not really, man. I think all them bases kind of look the same, man. Yeah, we wasn't like, so we were in Southern Helmand area, province area. So like,
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. What part of Afghanistan did you end up? But it was the southern province of Helmand, huh?
yeah, so Helmand
Okay.
province, yeah, down in Marja, Afghanistan. Yeah, pretty flat down there. A lot of those like canals, irrigation ditches, man, like man-sized ditches. Like I've watched some dudes get owned, dude, by them, uh, by those things, dude. Those things are brutal, man. But yeah, as far as like, I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect. You know, like I said, man, I got to Iraq and I was expecting like, okay, this is it, man. Like, you know what I mean? I was expecting the worst, you know, and nothing really popped off for me. When I got to Afghanistan, it was like I said, up until really like we knew we were going to do something, but like until we got there and you find out like, okay, we're going to go insert in the Marja by helicopter. Then it was like, wow, okay, now we're doing all this high tech, you know, not high tech, high speed training. You know what I'm saying? And now we're mine sweeping and doing all these things for about a month. You know, I think it's like 3 to 4 weeks before we, you know, got on the choppers and took off. So, um, yeah, no, it was, yeah, that was kind of my first impression of Afghanistan. It was kind of wet, kind of cold, man. It wasn't like too cold, but it was, you know, I got chilly at night. So.
What were you guys doing? What kind of do you guys have any memorable engagements you want to talk about? Anything you know, what was day-to-day life for you there? Were you guys running patrols, ops? Were you uh you know, trying to get the enemy to expose themselves when you guys were rolling around? What
Okay.
was that all about for you?
Okay. So yeah, man. So basically, man, like I said, we, you know, we get there, we do 3 to 4 weeks of, you know, this high intensity, not high intensity, but like, you know, a lot of high live fire training, you know, maneuver drills, things like that. Then we find out, well, hey, you know, your company, Kilo Company, is going to be getting, you know, we're going to put you guys on these birds, and you guys are going to basically fly in, um, into the middle of the city, and we're going to insert into these fields, these big poppy fields, you know, and basically, you know, take a stronghold and start pushing. You know, and the overall goal is to push the insurgents out while the rest of the, you know, so basically you got 1-6 and 3-6, um, and then you know British Royal Marines, Afghani Army, all these different people kind of pushing in as we're pushing them out. Um, so you know that was probably one of the most intense things that I will say. Like, I mean, Afghanistan was a very intense deployment. But you know, to be honest with you, man, it's like so come to find out they had dropped leaflets into Marja. And you know, there's all kinds of videos. There's a HBO documentary that it's 1-6, but we're same time we were there. But you know, they dropped leaflets into Marja, I think like 2 weeks before we were coming, basically saying like, hey, we're gonna come on this date, and if you don't leave, you know, and you're a military age male, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna neutralize it. You know, you get on the, you know, the flight line, man. I'll never forget like getting on a flight line. So we get on there, we get on the flight line the first night. I think it was like the 12th or the 13th. I think it was the 12th. We get on the flight line and we're supposed to like, this is D-Day, man. We're gonna get on this thing. You know, we're getting all these birds. We've done all the drills, man. You know, to get prepared and you know on off drills off the helicopters and you know setting perimeters and doing all the things. And you know, you get on a flight line and you're sitting there thinking to yourself like, this is the real stuff. Like this is okay. Like this is something that um, you know, we had a couple different generals, man. That's what I'm saying. I can't remember all their names, but anyways, you know, they had come and talked to us, and there's you know, there's like a famous speech or two that's out there about you know, like you'll always be known as Mars Marines, you know, and you know all the things, and talking about how like this is going to be in the history books, and you know, it was one of those things where it was like extremely honorable, you know, to be a part of. At the same time, it was extremely terrifying too. And I mean, you know, I'm at the end of the day, man, I'm just a man. Like I'm just a man, you know what I mean? And you know, I'll be honest with you, I think the scariest part of that, I mean, there was a lot of scary parts of that deployment, a lot of crazy things, but at the same time, like that, I think that honestly one of the scariest parts is getting on a helicopter, dude. And you know, you get on there, and so anyway, so let me go back a little bit. So they end up telling us like, okay, the first night they're like, okay, hey, we're not doing it tonight. Everybody, you know, now we're all pissed. We're like, what are we doing here, dude? Like we're all expecting to go into just blazing glory. We don't know. They know we're coming. So next thing you know, we go back, and then the next night we come out. Well, one of my, no, I ain't going with that. I won't tell them on the bus, but we had one of my Marines, one of my junior Marines. He got sick in between that night and the next night. Anyways, you know, teach their own, man. But you know, I think we were all terrified. But at the same time, we get back out there the second night, and next thing you know, we're getting on the birds, dude. There's like two New York Times reporters next to me, or you know, a couple seats down from me. And I can find some pictures. And there's a bunch, like I said, there's a bunch of YouTube videos and stuff. But you know, that was like, you know, you get on there, you got MVGs on. I mean, dude, like if I could find some pictures of the actual like pictures they took of us in there, dude, in these helicopters, man, it was that was terrifying. Like, I'm not gonna lie, man, that was terrifying. And
So So you guys eventually, after all this training, after all this prep work, after thinking you're going, after it getting canceled, eventually you guys they pull torque on those helicopters. You guys are on your way to Marja, man. You guys get inserted to Marja. How was that? What was that about?
Yeah, man. So we dropped down. We drop down and we get off the birds, and they had flooded a lot of the poppy fields. Assuming I don't know, assuming maybe that we'd do that. I'm not sure, but I remember being very muddy, extremely muddy. You know, a guy Ryan Rogers, he wrote the book Lions Marja. He in his book and his podcast, Choices Not Chances too. But he talks a lot about how the mud for them was awful, man. It was awful. They said they were like having to like punch their barrels and everything because they got off the birds expecting, get off and just button hook and, do the whole perimeter. And next thing you know, you got guys laying on top of each other. And, one guy, I guess lost his shoe. I mean, just, but for me, I remember being extremely muddy. I don't remember really getting extremely stuck, which I don't know how, carrying we're carrying everything, man. I mean, we was basically like told, hey, that was bad for a while, so we got like a day pack on and, you know, very minimal stuff. You got ammo, you got, some field strip MREs, you got more ammo, you got some water and some batteries, a lot of batteries, and then you got your different setups. There's a picture I got with me holding my 8-pop, but like I got some thermal mounts on there for a 240 and, all the things, but uh, yeah, it's crazy, man.
So how long did you guys actually spend on that operation down there in Marja,
It was
if you can remember?
yeah, we were there 7 months, man. Yeah, we were there for 7 months. It was a pretty like I said, it was pretty intense deployment, man. And a lot of man, I got to fight next to some of the most badass dudes. I'm telling you right now, man. Some of those badass dudes on the planet. I had a really good friend. Like I said, I told you about the other day, Tyler, man. That's something I struggled with a lot, man. He was probably out of all the guys we had lost, so, he was obviously the one like I was close to, and I wouldn't say like, there's other guys that were super tightly involved. Me and him actually hung out outside, at other friends' houses. Man, that guy was just one of the happiest dudes I'd ever seen in my life, and he ended up taking his life, dude. And it's just hard because at the same time, like I was going through a lot of the same stuff he was going through when he did that, and so that's something I struggle with, every day, and it's anyways, yeah, it was, like I said, 7 months over there and an experience I will never ever forget, for the rest of my life, man.
How could you?
Yeah, and I wouldn't. Part of me, and the craziest thing, man, about this whole thing about being a vet is like, especially being a combat vet, it's like I said, man, at the end of the day, dude, like, I'm grateful for my opportunities and the things I've done over there. Like I said, extremely blessed to got to fight, thankfully, with some of the best dudes on the planet. One of my junior Marines, he got really badly hurt over there. And, I'm not trying to highlight his story. I struggle with that a lot, as a leader. And, there's a lot of things that you just don't talk about. You know what I mean? You just don't. And actually, up until, a few months ago, I hadn't really ever told him, but, like, when he got hit, it's just weird. You know what I'm saying? It's weird because, like, certain things happen and you have no control. It's like you don't know how to feel about certain things. And, you know what I mean? You come home and you just don't know how to express it. You know what I mean? And like I said, I told you the other day, when we was talking offline, was that, we got back, I think in August. I think it was right at August of 2010. Next thing you know, dude, I'm sitting in Seymour, Indiana, you know, um, with a kid that's almost 2 years old now. Hadn't really got to see. And I'm sitting in a college classroom next to these young kids, and you know what I mean. And just it's crazy kind of how that went. I mean, you get back, and next thing you know, like all these crazy things happen. Next thing you know, within 4 months, let's say I was at home. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, okay? And then we'll come back and then we'll talk about your because you mentioned going to college and you're talking about Seymour. So I'm assuming that there's a little bit of transition of you getting back from Marja and then eventually exiting the Marine Corps. So let's take a quick break and then we'll jump into that. All right, guys, welcome back. We took a quick break. All right, Russell. So that's it, man. You're all done. Afghanistan Mars is over. You told us that you had gotten out of the Marine Corps and you had transitioned into civilian life. You decided to go to college. How was that experience, man? How was that? Because you had just spent, 4 years in the Marine Corps. You're an Iraq veteran, Afghanistan. You got into some shit on over there in Afghanistan, and now you're out. You got a 2-year old, and you are with all of those civilians in a college setting, and that is something that I told you that we spoke about is always fascinating for me to listen to, man, because I know there's a lot of veterans out there today that are attempting still today in 2026 um, that think the transition is fucked. And what was that transition process like for you, man? Was it easy? Was it easy go? Was it tough? Were you just looking around, being like, man, what the fuck? I mean,
Yeah,
I just can't imagine going from Marja, Southern Helmand Province, to a school setting. So, how was that for you?
man. You get back, dude, and like I said, I got back. I got a kid, and like I said, myself and my dad. I was like, man, I'm gonna be a good dad. That's the one thing. Really, at the end of the day, if my legacy is anything, I want to be a good dad. I mean, that's what's and to be a good man, a good husband. That's my at the end of the day, that's my main things. But you get home and I vowed to like, okay, hey, I'm in this to through everything. You know what I'm saying? Me and my kid's mom had a we kind of had a lot. We had a really bad time. We was pretty much was on and off the entire time I was in the Marine Corps. Basically for camp. I was on leave from boot camp, not boot camp for pre-deployment leave for Iraq. Man, I met her. Anyways, that's how the whole thing ended up happening. So trying to off and on that for a while through the whole Afghanistan deployment. It was half my mind was over there while half of it was trying to fight at the same time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
told
I mean, that's gotta be tough, right? Because you're a leader now, you're in Afghanistan, right? You guys are engaged in some of the heaviest fighting in Afghanistan, and then you have this over here that weighs on you too, man. And when they talk about complacency killing, when we started talking about that at the beginning of the podcast on today's episode, those type of thoughts, man, if you're not focused, that can lead to the complacency, man.
yeah.
So, I mean, you made it out of there. So God bless you, man. With all that bearing down on you. So, um, good, good.
Well, I appreciate that, man. That's the thing is, when you first get out, it's kind of crazy because like, so let me go back a little bit. So I get back from Afghanistan, and this time I get back, and my mom's there. I get to see my son for the first time. Like, I sent you a picture of me and him, and him just kind of like we're spotted down. He's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm just like sitting there thinking, like, buddy, you have no idea what I've done to be here. You know what I mean? It's kind of sad, man, but
Is it sad though? Is it
uh,
sad? I mean that's the path, right? So I mean it's what you chose, it's what was chosen for you. And I mean for a guy like me, and I'm not discounting anything that you said, not by any mean, but it's you made it out, man,
yeah,
right? So I see a little bit of yeah, there's sadness for the path that got you there in front of your son again,
yeah,
but you made it out of there, right? And
yeah.
I think there's a little level of glory there that could be spoken about too, man. I mean, I think it's great that you were able to make it out and leave healthy, with all your parts and everything else, man. So I see beauty in that, being able to sit there in front of your son. So
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, man. It's like I said, it's just it's really hard to, like I said, you come back and like you have this whole mindset of like, okay, I'm getting out, because I had the chance to reenlist, man. And at one point, I actually had a reenlistment packet when I was in Afghanistan. I got promoted to corporal, and it was like, okay, and I actually had a packet. I was going to go do something completely different, and then the reenlistment bonuses like had plummeted, dude. And I was like, you know what? Like, there's no way I'm doing another 4 years of anything. You know what I mean? Like, I love the Marine Corps, but I love being a dad better. Like, I knew that's where I needed to be at. You know what I mean? So I had to make that call and come home and you know. So you get out of the Marine Corps. Like, so when I was getting out, my thought was like, okay, dude, like this is it. Nobody. I ain't got to do PT at 0.5. Like, nobody's gonna make me do anything. I ain't got to worry about standing in formation at 0.4 to be let go at 0.9. Like
no
you
more
do.
smelling CLP underneath your fingertips at the chow hall
Yeah,
or anything like that. Yeah.
yeah, and like not having to worry about going to the army, and just the dumb stuff, the stupid stuff that you just like everybody hates, but that's what makes Marines Marines. If it ain't, if it ain't, if it makes sense, they ain't gonna do it. In a lot of ways, So fast forward, you get out, and you have all these expectations, and my thought was, well, I was wanting to go to college. I knew I'd, being infantry, and, combat vet, dude, I was like, well, I know for a fact I can't be a cop. Like nothing against them, at all. I wish I had the patience. But like I couldn't, I just knew I couldn't do that. So my thought was like, well, I would love to, with my childhood, and not saying I had a bad childhood, but getting in all that trouble before the Marine Corps. So I thought, well, what could I do? And I was like, well, I'll go criminal justice and I wanted to be a probation officer for juveniles, help mentor kids. Like, hey man, like, because that's what I needed. You know what I mean? Whenever I was a kid, if I'd have had a dad to be there and be like, hey, dumbass, you know what I'm saying? And kick me along the way, like I could have done so much better. So that was kind of my thought, and so I get into school. I'm going to IUPUC in Columbus at the time. End up having another son. He's 13 now. His name's Benson, Benny Boy. So I had him through blessing. That was one of those things where shortly after he was born, man, I was like having two kids. I was going to college and I was working at Walmart DC part time, or not part time, on the weekends. Like I ended up dropping out of college and I ended up putting a job too because I was like, you know what, dude, I don't need this job. All right. So, anyways, dropped out of college. I stopped doing that, and then I did some odd man like factory work for a while, just kind of finding something. I'm like, okay, there's got to be something out here that I can do that I'm going to enjoy doing. And anyways, man, I did that. I ended up landing a job by luck through a guy as an electrician.
Okay.
Yeah, I started out, man, as like, just sweeping floors, like, labeling stuff, learning all like the nomenclature of all the different parts, which was awesome because I kind of took that with like machine gun stuff, the nomenclature of all the parts of the machine guns. And so it was kind of nice getting to know all the pieces and things. So, fast forward for, a couple of months, man, I ended up having a guy kind of took me under his wing and was like, hey man, you're catching on really fast. And he started teaching me how to bend conduit, things like that. And, I did that for a little over 10 years altogether as an industrial electrician, man. I never
Kick
got
ass.
licensed. I never got licensed. I did a lot of traveling. I traveled all over, well, quite a bit all over the country for a while with this company, Beely Electric, man, and a bunch of good dudes. I think one thing I love the most about the trades was the camaraderie in them, because, at the end of the day, like a lot of these jobs, especially in the trades, man, it's usually dominated by men. You get a few women here and there, but it kind of took me back to my infantry days because, I literally was around dudes all the time. Like, I mean, I didn't see very many female Marines, man, at any given time in my Marine Corps career. Like, I'd probably seen maybe 100 of them, very rare. But,
My time in the Marine Corps, I dealt with one female. She was my career counselor.
yeah,
Whatever, headquarters, Marine Corps, whatever, in Camp Lejeune when I was lat moving. I had to deal with her. She was a gunnery sergeant. Like I said, I think in one of the other episodes, man, she was like the typical, she had the birth control glasses on, the short bobby
yeah,
haircut, her Class C uniform, the Charlie uniform with that freaking silly black tie, whatever they would make them wear. And then it wasn't until God, I think maybe 96, maybe 1996. I can't remember. We had like the first female show up at the squadron, man, in a flight suit, and it was just, you're right, man. I mean, Marine Corps, right? I mean, female Marines have been around forever, man, but it's just depending where you were, even upstairs in the admin office, man, in the hangar at the squadrons, man. I mean, I never saw a single female ever the entire
yeah,
time
dude.
I was with the MEU. I did 3 floats with the MEU and then I lat moved. And even at I think, we had the first female show up. I think maybe 96, maybe 97, man, was the first female that I saw. They were all around. You'd see them at the PX, you'd see them
Yeah,
here, you'd see them there, but just for the MOSs that the men dominated, man, yeah, we never saw them. So
yeah. And then,
even
that's the thing, like,
I get it.
like Afghanistan, we had maybe, we had a checkpoint at one point set up and they had like this x-ray machine. Like it was something out like, it looked like it was like out of Back to the Future or something. They rolled this thing up and they had a little setup. They had these like, I think it was like 3 or 4 female Marines came out to Cop Riley where we were at out there um, for a few months. But you know,
And a lot of them were kicking ass. They had those female engagement teams, man,
yeah,
right? A lot of
and,
them were out there kicking ass, and they were a fantastic job. But when you're not
yeah,
the first one, you're not gonna be the last one to say that they didn't have much experience with with females there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they were pretty like gung ho. I mean, nothing bad against it. It was just like really weird to have them there, especially like you know. I mean, like you said, man, like even like our our admin, our headquarters company, like I don't think we had any female Marines on our entire unit, man. So like, so fast forward until like, going to the trades, I love the trades because for one, it takes a skill. It's a skill. It makes my mind think. So I love the aspect, especially like the geometry of conduit bending, man. I don't know what it is about geometry stuff. Like I love to make things level, plumb, and OCD. But working with all the guys has kind of brought me back to you're on this rough job. It's muddy, it's hot, it's or cold, and you get to really see what a lot of men are made of because you get a lot of talkers on the job site until you're out in polar vortex weather trying to put a freaking light in. You know what I mean? So you get to really see what people, and not a bad way, almost in a twisted way. Like there's something about I just enjoy it. I feel like touching you really see who somebody is. You know what I mean? When they're like, so, and then at the end of the day too, whether when you put your boots down or you got to checking out, punching the clock, getting out of the job, it's like, hey, it was rough, it sucked. We might have almost fist fought 5 times. Like Fred might have, you know, but everybody's together. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we still got to come back and do this tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So I love that aspect. I really did. At the time, for a long time, I loved the aspect of the traveling and the long hours and just like the grind. You know what I mean? Like get it, get it, get it. And I lived off that for a long time, man.
Good.
Yeah,
It was good for you, huh?
yeah, it was good, man. I said I didn't do getting licenses or nothing. I just kind of learned as I went. Next thing you know, I got a company truck in like 3 years. So
So 10 years running conduit, bending metal, pulling wires and all that. You said the guys you worked with were great. The company took care of you. And then there's one thing that sparked my curiosity, man. So you had your second child. It was another son you had?
yeah,
Okay.
was
All right. Now, just for my own curiosity, how was the relationship with your first wife? Because it was rocky the entire time you were, throughout boot camp at the Marine Corps and everything else. Were you guys able to repair that, or did you have to move on?
yeah, no, so yeah, that was flaky though. I mean, it was pretty rocky the whole time, man. It was like every time you turn the phone on, you didn't know what was gonna happen.
Okay.
So sometimes the field ops are kind of nice, but then again, after we had Benson, I think we kind of both realized, it was like, hey, man, like this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was done with it. I was cashed out. And it is what it is. We had to, but it was one of those things where it was going to get worse before it got better, and
Okay.
so we moved on our ways.
Okay. All right. Well, what are you doing now? I mean, after 10 years with the same company, you mentioned college, and I'm trying to find a good segue, man, to get us where we're at today, because you're doing a kick-ass thing, man. I freaking love what you're doing right now, but I want to make sure that we cover anything, between, the trades, the new relationships and all that. I want to make sure that we don't leave anything out that is memorable for you that you want preserved.
Yeah, no, no, I appreciate it. So, kind of fast forward a little bit, in the trades, within that 10 years, I ended up having another daughter. She lives in, well, she was born in San Antonio, and then she, ended up being in Dallas for a while, and then she went to Georgia for a while. Now she's in South Carolina. I have a pretty good relationship there for the most part. It's kind of hard doing a long distance thing.
Yeah.
It's been really, really hard, but she's 10 now. So it's like, yeah, it's gotten a little easier. But the way I look at it is, once she gets of age and can make her own choices, and if she wants to come up here and go to college or whatever, you know what I mean, then that's on her. And we got a lot more longer to go. When she becomes adult and we can do stuff and make them choices and have that a real relationship. But so I got my daughter Elena, and then fast forward up to we'll just get kind of really into 2019, man. That So 2019, man, I was in another relationship with a girl, and I ended up having another son. His name's Bailey boy. He's man, he's a stud, dude. Just good looking kid, man. He's the smallest, sweetest kids ever, man. Which all my kids are, but he's the baby. I mean, he's my baby, and me and his mom really didn't work out either. And 2020 with COVID and all that, man, it got rough, dude. It got real rough for a lot of people, man. And I was still doing the electrician thing. I was still traveling, and so anyways, we ended up splitting it up, and I got him, and then 2020 with the COVID and everything, man, it was like I was going through a lot. I was going through a fresh breakup. I got a new kid. What I'm saying, like Brett, another son. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. I mean, this life's overwhelming. Certain things, like you start feeling different emotions about things the longer things go on, and about whether it's combat or whether it's the Marine Corps, childhood. I mean, whatever it is, And so long story short, man, uh, it was the Marine Corps birthday in 2020, having a real bad day, dude, a real bad day. It was one of those things where I was like, dude, this ain't worth doing anymore. I was like moving into my mom's house. I have this huge house, dude. It had, it had a four, I think one, two, three, had four full baths in it. You know what I mean? Like this massive house, dude. It's like now I'm like moving all my stuff. Marine Corps birthday. I'm missing my brothers. I'm missing all that. I'm just like, damn. I'm sitting there thinking like, where would my life be at if I would have stayed in? Like, going through all the things, dude. And alcohol. That was a big thing. And to get into that a little bit, I struggled with alcohol, dude, for a long time. I mean, that's basically how I coped. I mean, from the day I got back from Afghanistan, man, I'm telling you right now, I sat in a bear trim and I drank a 12 pack of Milwaukee's Best almost every day. I mean, that's just how I live, dude. I mean, and it got worse when I got out because then I knew about I got up like 200 pounds. I went from like 160 pounds to 200 pounds. I want to say in like 4 months, man. I mean, I was just drinking them. But so, I was battling alcoholism for a long time. And, it was one of those things where like everybody was telling me, like, dude, I've been kicked out of almost every bar in Seymour. I mean, where I live at, like, I don't even go to bars anymore. Like, it's, even now, like, and this has been a long time ago. Like, I was wild, man. I was a wild card, dude. And the more I drank was the more to numb it. Um, but part of me too was like, well, maybe that's just who I am. Maybe I just like to drink. You know what I mean? Who's to tell me I can't drink beer? So or hard liquor. I was a Fireball guy. I love Fireball. Which I ended up working at Sazerac in New Albany. Man, it was they make Fireball, dude. So I put like the first, help put install like the first 7 lines there. So like I'd be around, Southern Comfort, Fireball, all 99 bananas, all the things. And then I'd go straight from there, hit the liquor store. And, I was hammered when I got home. You know what I mean? And this wasn't a good lifestyle. Anyways, I was still working down there. I was down there at Sazerac and, I mean, I was hitting the liquor hard. Brand new, my girlfriend's gone, and, my kid, and just the whole thing. I mean, dealing with a lot of my own issues. And, next thing you know, man, a lot of it's a real blackout, to be honest with you. Next thing you know, I remember my
Can I
well,
ask you something? Can
yeah,
I ask you something? Were you angry at all about your service at this time with the thoughts that you had, with the memories that you had, and the struggle with alcohol? Did you try putting your finger on it? Did you try saying, "I am like this because of this"? I mean, did you ever get angry at your service?
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like,
I
I
mean, if
think,
you're okay talking about it, I just,
yeah,
I just felt the need to ask you that, man. If,
yeah,
because you have these broken relationships, you got beautiful children that you love dearly, you had made mention before about wanting to be a good dad, and then, now you're having these struggles, and, I'm just curious if you just, I wouldn't be like this if it wasn't for this, so I'm angry at that. Even though you bragged about truthfully, just being in combat with wonderful men, wonderful warriors, the best that the Marine Corps could have provided to be your teammates at that time, and then now you're here. So I'm sensing that you were probably angry a little bit.
yeah, yeah. It's just like, and yeah, and it really wasn't at the Marine Corps, at all. It was for the longest time. I didn't even want, like, not that I was embarrassed to be a Marine. Everybody's, obviously proud, but for the longest time, I just kind of wanted to forget all of it. I wanted to do my best to just forget about the whole thing, man. I'm just like, focus on me, dad. You know what I'm saying? After so long, of being a Marine, and don't get me wrong, you're grateful for everybody that comes up and talks to you and all the things, but after a while, you're just like, damn, man, like I just want to leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? And half the time, like I said, I was drunk anyway. But I think the biggest thing that I struggled with was like I said, it wasn't the Marine Corps. It was just the fact of like the what ifs. Like what if I stayed in? Like that was security. That was the Marine Corps was so easy in an extent. You know what I'm saying? Once you get past the mental aspect of like, okay, dude, you're gonna get messed with. It don't matter if you're a staff sergeant, dude. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Down to a PFC. I mean, somebody can outrank you, can tell you what to do. You know what I mean? So you just kind of take that, and I don't know. You just kind of go from having that structure and all the things, and then you go to out here, and it's just like everything is so chaotic. Everything is so chaotic. It's almost people are just like I always refer to kind of like it's like free range chickens. And I'm not saying it in a bad way. They're civilian friends, but it's like everybody's kind of on their own time, on their own things. And it's like me, it's always just go, go, go. And a lot of people don't understand it. I get you're super intense, man. I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, my therapist was just telling me yesterday, he's like, do you realize like how much you move your hands, like how much that kind of, and I'm like, I can't, man. It's just, I can't, you know what I mean? I struggle with that stuff. So, and then the more you get called out on things like that, and you know what I mean? The more it bothers you. I don't know. It's just, Yeah, I just like I said, man, I wish. Okay, I will say one thing. The most thing, like I said, not the Marine Corps, but is the transitioning. To be honest with you, that it comes down. That's what this whole thing that I've started is because of the transition. Um,
Right. And you know what? We talked about it earlier today. The transition, man. I just don't know why, you know, we can fucking overnight go down, smash Venezuela, grab Maduro, and have him in fucking New York overnight, right? We can send freaking people to the moon back in the 60s, back in 1969, start that whole thing, right? All this amazing shit this country's done. And I'm not going to get, no, fuck it. I will rant about it, man. With everything that we are able to do as a country and do it fucking fantastic with amazing results. This is something that just every time I sit down with someone like you or someone else, it's always the same shit. The transition, the transition, the transition. And I don't know fucking why we have such a hard time taking care of you guys, man.
yeah,
And it's just we're capable of greatness. We've proved it hundreds of times throughout history, right?
yeah,
But it's always the same thing, the
yeah,
transition. And everyone's experience is different, man. I get it. You know, your experience is far different than an admin guy. Your experience is so much different than, than my experience. You know, my experience is so much different than than someone else's, right? But we all got the same fucking thing. And I don't care when you served, man.
yeah,
You know, it's all the same thing. The transition, and we're failing, and I don't know what it's going to take. It's going to take more than me bitching on a podcast,
yeah,
but I'm tired of talking to the same guys over and over and over again, where we're not taking care of these guys throughout the transition, man.
yeah. No, and
So
yeah, and and that's the thing is you're nailing it right on the head. Like I said, for they when I got back from Afghanistan, I think we still did the same 2 week, maybe 3 week like cool down period, and the next thing you know, you go home for a little bit, and then like I said, I was I'm pretty sure it was like the end of August, right at the mid August. Um, you know, I'm out of the Marine Corps on December 11th, 2010, and I mean, I'm like out here as a free man, and I was around some wild stuff over there. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I think what bothers me the most now, especially now, and I think that's kind of what hit me back in 2022 was like, you know, if I would have had, if I would have had a group of people, on that military base, and there was had a program or some kind of mentorship that you just had to do. I mean, it was a had to do. And I hate to say that, but a lot of guys, how it is, man. A lot of these guys, some guys get out, especially like if you wasn't through combat or whatever. Like some of these guys are like, man, I'm ready to get out. But if they had some kind of transitioning thing, and this is kind of where I'm wanting to do, my overall vision is, veterans find purpose in helping. I think I told you yesterday, I've had so many veterans reach out to me, and I can't think of one veteran that's reached out to me asking for help. They have asked me, how can I help you? Like Corey Murphy, man, and I think that's the big picture that most people don't see is like,
Alan Steinar, one
what's
of the
that?
other guys, Alan Steinar. I mean, that's how we led the podcast. That was the whole theme of it, of with his involvement with Raider Air.
Yeah,
How can I help? How
yeah,
can I help? You guys aren't raising your hand saying help me.
yeah,
And it's part of this podcast. It's part of the Miles Gregarius Foundation for me is if I'm able to help someone else, man, I'm helping myself. And you and I talked offline. I can't wait to get, I can't wait to start talking about what you're doing now. But I mean, just being able to help, man, it's so therapeutic, So it's no surprise to me that you're having vets come up to you and they're like, "Hey, man, I don't need anything, but I got something for you. I want to
yeah,
help."
yeah.
Because
Yeah. Well, and so what I've noticed, because at first I was like, well, man, like at first it was kind of a problem because like I mean I obviously did the schooling and the entrepreneurship program. And I'd love to talk more about that, but like when I first started this, I was like, well, I can't just have everybody helping. Like I need veterans to like do stuff. I can't just have a team. I need a team of. But then that's what I realized, looking back. It took me a while to realize it because next thing you know, I'm like, man, I've got like 20 dudes that are down to help, but they wasn't, but we had nobody to help. You know what I'm saying? In a sense. So that's where it hit me. I'm like, how cool would it be if I could create an organization that builds camaraderie? You know what I'm saying? So the first aspect of this is to build that camaraderie and, you know, eventually be able to have, my organization would be working with hopefully, like the MWRs, all across, the country at these different military bases and trying to get some kind of program. I don't know, I'm not going to put a week, or whatever, but have some kind of thing where these guys, when they're getting ready to get out, whether you're a combat, Marine, an airman that just, whatever it is you did, everybody needs to go through some kind of thing where it's not like nothing crazy, nope, but having genuine vets who's been out for a while, who's like, man, I need the itch. I mean, I went on to Crane Naval Base the other day, and that was the first time. That was probably like maybe 2 months ago. No, back in October, and that's the first time I had been on any military installation in years. I mean, years, and just to be able to be on a base that like I was never stationed on, just to have that opportunity to go like drive around. I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like, how cool would it be though? Like if I had where I could work with the MWRs and do something where we could do some hikes or do, grow up big enough where we can do several of different things. And, you know, now it's a win, which we got the Warriors of Nature win thing, that's kind of thing. But, it's a win for the veteran because the veteran gets to, if this works out the way I want it to, is eventually have a pathway for veterans to be able to get on some of these bases and, with the right credentials, things like that, but actually getting to work with some of these guys and doing some stuff with them and showing these guys like, hey, and then that becomes a win for the service member because now they're getting out and they get to ask some of the questions like, hey, man,
All right.
especially when we get paired together.
All right. It kind of sounds like we're selling something right now, but I want to go back to the
Yeah, sorry.
creation of this. No, it's fine, man. It's fine. So you have an idea, you have a vision, you have people wanting to help you. So if I can, it's like, all right, I got this table in a room. I got all these guys that want to help. And you're like, all right, let's go help. And then you walk out the front door and you're like, well, fuck, who are we helping?
Yeah.
Right. So you created what? Tell me about that.
Okay.
Tell me
Yeah.
what
So
was,
yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
glad
tell
you
me,
did it.
I mean, because we understand the catalyst, we understand the genesis of it, right? We talked about that, but what did you come up with?
Okay. So do you want me to kind of start? I'm going to kind of start kind of like how I even started with this. Can I just go with that? Warriors of Nature Project. So finally, I went back to school. I got married. So can we go to that real quick?
Yeah, oh, of course, of course.
Okay, so fast forward, from sorry, I'm way off. So can we go back? We go back to 2020, dude. That's whenever everything was going. That's kind of where all this really started. 2020, Marine Corps birthday. COVID, the kid, the whole thing is going. I think my life's basically coming to an end. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is it. When I started, one thing that really kind of stuck in my mind the worst was my buddy Tyler. Thinking about what he did, over there, and
That
you
was
know,
10 years prior.
yeah. And, I was kind of thinking about him. I'm like, well, maybe that is a ticket, man. You know what I mean? Because I was mad at him for a very long time. I mean, very long time. And, so I'm sitting there hammered, and I'm sitting there thinking like, well, maybe that is a ticket. So, I had my youngest boy, actually, Bailey. I ended up taking him, driving him over to my mom's house, dropped him off to my stepdad. I don't even remember what I said to him. I don't know. I don't even think I said bye to my kid. I didn't even think I said bye to him. But, I ended up leaving. I feel awful, but like I ended up leaving and headed out towards like Brownstown. And I didn't have a weapon or anything like that. I've never owned a firearm just because I just never had the desire to. You know what I mean? My anger, I can get pretty angry pretty quick sometimes. Um, but so, anyways, head out to Brownstown. Like I said, man, a lot of that's kind of a blackout, man. But next thing you know, I remember being on the phone with my mom, and then she got me on the phone with some suicide hotline guy or girl. I don't remember. I was pretty drunk, man. I was gone. But somehow that guy ended up talking me down. I don't know. The next thing you know, I remember waking up on my mom's couch on Veterans Day. I wake up on my mom's couch and she's like, "Hey, Russ, like you got to do something, man. You know what I mean? Like you really got to do something different here." So I ended up going coming up here to Bloomington from Seymour and going to Indiana Center for Recovery up here in Bloomington. I did 30, really right, 30 days of rehab, for alcohol abuse. And that's where I really kind of found I started really realizing that, I didn't just like to drink, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, you just like beer, man. So, I started really kind of diving into my problems. I read the whole AA book in my 30 days. So I read that. I started getting into some other different things, the Raw the Law One, I get into kind of some weird stuff, but um, yeah, I think that's when I kind of realized, like, man, like, they started talking like throughout these cool classes and stuff, talking about, doing different coping mechanisms. And, I started doing these meditation things with this guy. I can't remember his name, dude, but he was cool shit, man. I always remember, like, when I saw him, I was like, man, that's kind of what I imagined myself before the Marine Corps. It was like, super chill, like meditating, doing things like that. So I can't remember. I wish I would remember that dude's name, and he was actually cool. But anyways, like, I started just doing different stuff. Walking when I would get the urge, like I felt like I needed a drink. Like I started, I'd go a little walk, or I'd go, you know, play guitar. I play a lot of guitar. I just find things that make me busy. And then we did like an outside. There's like an outside park here somewhere. It's the only time I've ever been there when I was in rehab, and it was like all different kinds of cool sculptures of people making stuff, like wild looking stuff. And I remember being out there, and I was like, that was the first time I think it really hit me. I was like, dude, like I actually really enjoyed this. I felt like I was feeling myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, dude, you can calm down for a minute. So, um, so when I got out of rehab, man, I got out of rehab, and then I did the whole not drinking thing. Solid like I did it for like 3 months, dude. Didn't drink a drop for like 3 months, and the next thing you know, I relapsed, man. Went through back to the same stuff for a minute. And, I was on and off, for about 2 years, man. I was pretty on and off, man. It was kind of like I was figuring it out, but I hadn't figured it all out. I think that's everybody that's done any kind of, been through any kind of, substance abuse problems. But
Was it a conscious did you have any guilt? Did you have any, I don't know, did you feel, I don't know, did you have any guilt when you relapsed? Like, was it like a conscious thing, like, "Hey, I know I shouldn't be doing this," or "Maybe I shouldn't"? I mean, how'd you struggle with that, man? Was that
dude, yeah, no, it was a lot of,
because you're dry now, and then,
yeah,
we'll talk about it. So,
well, and
going through a pre-suicidal type of thing, and your mom kicking your ass, getting you into rehab, and then you going through the program successfully, and then you relapsed a little bit. So I'm just assuming,
yeah, no, it was a
that
lot
you
of,
probably that you probably had a lot, you were still dealing with a lot of stuff, and then now you're I don't wanna speak I don't wanna make a false assumption on my part, man, but, uh, how was that? I mean, was that, you know
um, you know, can you say the question one more time? I kind of lost you on that
yeah,
one.
I mean, did you have any, when you relapsed, right?
Oh, guilt.
Yeah, guilt,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, no, yeah, man, mainly, for my kids, because I told my kids when I was in there, I was like, I remember talking to him. You get to talk to him like once a night, and I get to talk to him every so often. It was one of those things. I'd start drinking behind the, as soon as they leave, man. I mean, I was drinking, or hiding stuff. It's crazy, dude, to think about now. But I was bad, man. It was more guilt towards my kids, because I promised them. I was like, man, I'm not gonna drink anymore. Like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Sure, it didn't take long. Next thing you know, I'm back to the same thing. But like I said, it was kind of in spurts. It was like, you know, 3 or 4 months I'd go through a real bad time. But like now, I mean, I can drink a beer or two. I'll drink a beer or two here and there. Like, I didn't drink during the game last night, the Indiana game. But like I can have a beer or two with my wife, but you know, either way, that was the main guilt I had. It was just like, man, I'm failing my kids, dude. And I was like, it wasn't like it was like I am now. Like we was like, oh, okay, casually have a beer once a month. Like I went back straight into like, okay, you know, fifth of Fireball. You know what I'm saying? Or pint of Fireball, and I'm drinking it. It's on my seat. And so, but
alright. Alright, let's, you we started talking about you started up the Warriors of Nature, project, right? And then you took us back to 2020. We spoke about, your mother, the rehab. We spoke about, uh, knowing that you have to get better, knowing that you have to get squared away, children. So, Warriors of Nature, man. Um, you started it up. How, for what reason? Because we were talking about that transition. We talked about that tribe. We talked about all the veterans wanting to help you. So you started up this Warriors or Nature project, this nonprofit organization. Your hope and goal was to be able to work with morale, welfare, recreation, MWR on the bases. How cool that would be. So, what kind of got it going? What kind of kicked it off? And
yeah,
you know,
yeah. So I started going to college at Ivy Tech. Um, my wife, I'm now married. My wife, she graduated from Ivy Tech up here in Bloomington, as an RN, and watching her get to do that, and being there for that experience, and I was like, man, like how cool it'd be to watch, for my kids to watch me do something. So that was a true inspiration for me to go back to school again. I was like, well, if nothing else, I'll try something else. I was like, well, what do I want to do? Long story short, I was like, I want to do a business. I want to be in business of some sort. So originally I went there to do a food truck. I was like, oh, I'm going to do a food truck. And then, they're like, yeah, they kind of talked me out of that. thankfully. But then I started really talking about like how passionate, I started thinking about all the things I'm passionate about, the veterans and all my past experiences. That's whenever we came up with, the Warriors of Nature project. At first the goal was actually to really kind of focus just on combat veterans. But then I realized I was like, man, like that's just, I just didn't feel like it was fair for what I was trying to do as far as the tribe. I'm like, man, like, it would be cool to have like, just the guys who've been in combat. But then I'm like, that just takes out so many good people. You know what I'm saying? And so many other people that need the same exact stuff. I mean, the same things, whether you're in combat or whatever you're doing, man. So we ended up broadening it out to just veterans in general. Um, but going back to the nature side of things, man, I've always been a big fisherman. I love to fish. I love to be outside. That's just kind of like, I actually don't even mind mowing, man. I can mow all
Well,
day.
you had that experience too while you were in rehab when you were talking about being out in the park, when that was
Yeah,
the first time you really felt
yeah.
good, you felt alive, so, your past experience with the fishing, the hunting, and being outdoors, and then getting clean during rehab and feeling that outsideness, man, so that makes sense to me, man. I mean, why you chose this path, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it kind of reminded me of me and my brother. Like me and my brother, that's kind of one of the things that we always was doing. We were always out in the woods, either shooting squirrels or fishing or just getting lost in the woods. I mean, you name it, man. We were out there doing it, building forts, and So, my thought was like, man, like, what if I built something that we could build where veterans could all get together, and not only just for the veteran, but for their kids and for their families, because a lot of these organizations, great organizations out there, man. I got a few I got to give a shout out to, but you know, a lot of great organizations doing a lot of great things. But my thing is like I've noticed in a lot of different aspects is like it's usually some of it's for just the veteran, and I'm trying to do stuff where it's like, hey man, we're going to do a camping trip. A few of our events this year, it's mainly in the warmer months, but hopefully doing camping, and we're getting the whole family out because at the end of the day, man, the spouse and the kids is just as important as the veteran. And I think it's nice for the spouse and the kids to get to see the veteran out with his type of people, not Bob from the their 40-hour job. You know what I'm saying? That he lives down the street from. Like getting out guys that you can literally build camaraderie with, and no pressure. There's no pressure on nobody. I mean, no, and that's one thing I never liked about doing other organizations myself was like usually you always end up getting spotlighted. You know what I mean? Like most of these guys just want to kind of like, hey man, I'm here, and they kind of warm up. And, you know, like I said, it's building that community again. I had a really good friend, John Simpson, Joey Simpson, man. They're some of my best friends over there. And nowadays, like from what I've built, kind of reminds me of that relationship back there. Cause like I was always at their house, man. You know what I'm saying? Like we were always together. It was like a family. And like their kid, like they would trust me to watch their kids, you know what I'm saying, etc. So we're trying to do that, kind of bring that here, bring the whole family in, do different kinds of stuff, kind of being a hub, and doing like network. And it's a great place to network. So that's kind of like,
Russell, let's take a 5-second tech.
yeah.
All right, guys, sorry about that. We're back. All right, Russell. So you wanted to create something where you can be around other like-minded veterans. Your family can see. We were talking about the importance of about the children, about the spouses. They're just as important as the veterans. Couldn't agree with you anymore on that, man. Because the trials, you're off in Afghanistan, you're off in Iraq. Those left behind have to deal with everything without you. Plus, they have to deal with the pressures of, is he okay? I haven't heard from him for a couple of days, and you're not going to get any argument out of any veteran that the family left behind is just as important as the service member that's deployed. How'd it go, man? So you start. You, how's it going? So you start
So
up Warriors of
yes.
Nature, right? Fishing, hunting, kids, spouses, interactions with.
So yeah, with Ivy Tech, the entrepreneurship program, man, and I'll tell you right now, huge shout out to Ivy Tech, Aaron Graham, Jessica Caudell, and Eric Coyne, man. Those are some great people. Eric Coyne, he actually is the chancellor up there. He's an Air Force vet, and one of the most just like he knows my name, like he knows, what I'm saying. He asks about my wife whenever and that's what I love about Ivy Tech, man. Is just they're so hands-on and just very personable. I love everything about them. But so I did the entrepreneurship course, and that's where, like I said, we kind of shifted into my things of like what am I passionate about, and started the Words Next project, going through all this, and now it's honestly, it's grown a lot faster than I was expecting it to, man. I thought this was going to be like a real small thing, like, okay, maybe. But like I said, I feel like there's a real need here because like we're at 1,600 followers on Facebook already, and we just started,
Outstanding.
yeah, in October of 2024 is when we become officially like a 501c3. We're growing. We've done like, I want to say we've done 16 events so far, 16 or 17. I think so. We've 17 events already, I think. And that's including different areas where we've set up booths and things. But and I know we've done at least 12 outdoor events. We just did one this weekend. And, these are just small gatherings, man. Like I said, we're no pressure, no nothing, just getting guys out. We're doing the Indiana State Park passes. So these are usually $50 to purchase, and these will get you into all the state parks. There's 24 state parks in Indiana, so this will get a veteran into any state park in Indiana for free as long as they go to our website and check us out. There's a little form you got to fill out, and they can get one of these things with the right documentation. The purpose behind this I love is the fact that while we're trying to build a tribe, extremely important. We also really value the importance of being able to get out and do some things on your own. You know what I mean? Like, not having to worry about, okay, well, how many people's gonna be at this event? Now I can go out with your kids, enjoy the day at the lake, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a little gift that keeps giving, man. And I think that a lot of people are taking advantage of it. We've already handed out 65 this year. We handed out 25 last year. So, it's growing. Our goal is to get 250 out. So we're still, obviously raising money for that. And, we actually got a business spotlight from the Colts this year. Me and my wife got to go down to Lucas Oil Stadium at the Colts 49ers Monday night game.
Cool.
It was highlighted for that. So, it's been really surreal, man. But, to be honest with you, I would be nowhere without Ivy Tech, man. And, all the guys there with the Small Business Development Center. And those guys are amazing. I genuinely, like, I would tell any veteran or any active service member that's getting out, man, if especially if you live in Indiana, dude, Ivy Tech is the way to go. These guys, it's just super small. And really, I mean, it was an amazing experience. I plan on hopefully going back and doing some more stuff with them.
Oh, that's great, man. That's fantastic. So Warrior Nature is alive. Let's talk about some of those events, man. I mean, you talked about the park passes. You guys are having outdoor events. How's it going connected? Well, let me not get too open-ended on you, man. So you guys what are some of the events, man? How are you interacting with the community and with the veterans and their families? Tell us
Yeah,
about that.
man. So like our first event we did was in Columbus, Indiana. It was a little 5K. We ended up having 55 people show up for our first event, which like I didn't think 5 people were going to show up. That was really kind of like wow. And then fast forward the next month, we did a little Nebo Ridge Trail. The chancellor of Ivy Tech actually came out, which was really cool. But it was snowing out. It was like super cold. It was like 8.9 miles we hiked. And anyways, very small turnout. Like 6 people showed up. But you know what? That's not about the numbers. It's about the experience and just having
Oh, it's about the people that showed up,
yeah, and
right?
yeah,
It's not about the people
yeah.
who didn't show up. It's about the people that are, the people that actually showed up.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, we did that. That was really cool. Very small. We did we've done a kayak float. We had like, let's say we had like 25 people come with kayaks, dude. We did a whole kayak float one day. We've done a Reeling for Resilience fishing tournament. We're trying to do these like real talk things. We're trying to get the schedule. We're doing like once a month, like these little like events where like we either meet for coffee or something, but it's like, real talk to get vets together. So that's something we're working on too. What else did we do? So we did paddleboarding with Simply Fitness out of Nashville, Indiana, man. Super cool vibes there, man. She basically takes like 10 of us out. We get to go paddle around. She teaches all the things. And I never paddleboarded before until last year when we did it. And it was actually really cool, man, and super like relaxing. Getting out there, like the sun's going down. It just brings you right to that peace that like I said, I've been looking for, and trying to show other people's out there, man, because there's a lot of beauty out there in nature, man, and I feel like there's so much fabrication in our world today. You know what I mean? It's like get out and listen to the birds, dude. It sounds kind of hippie, but at the same time, man, it shuts that noise off, the chaos. So, we're doing all kinds of stuff. We're doing 12 different state parks this year. Actually, there's 24 in the state of Indiana. So we already done Brown County. We're doing Fort Harrison State Park next. We've got a car show. We're working on doing a fundraiser for doing a lot of stuff with Heroes Life Adventures, different organizations. And that's what's really cool too, is that we're like, a lot of these guys in the organization, these organizations, it seems like there's a lot of competition. You know what I mean? And, I during my pitch competition for my organization, I labeled my thing as for my competition was frenemies because, you know, from my experience so far and how I operate, it's trying to bring the community together. Working with guys like Otis and Dee from Heroes Wildlife Adventures, man. These guys, like, they've got me a service dog. She's upstairs right now, but I'm telling you right now, man, like those guys have been life changing, and they do like hunting stuff. They took me out on a hunt. Let's see, November, December this year, maybe it's November. I can't remember. But dude, I went out and I hadn't shot a gun. I couldn't tell you last time I shot a weapon, man. And I went out there with his son, Otis's son, Brandon, which he's a combat vet, Purple Heart recipient, man. And I got to sit in a blind. Like, I'll be honest with you, man. I barely knew Otis. I got the dog from him. I got Enoch from him, man, which has been a blessing in itself, dude. And they do like the training. I got 10 weeks of training and everything. So Heroes Wildlife Adventures, man. These guys are doing great if you haven't heard of them. But they took me out, dude. And the best part about what they did was like, we don't do hunting, but I got to go out there and sit with these guys and sit with his son and got to hear about his story and and kind of and have that, dude. We sit out there all day. I shot 2 deer. I shot a doe, probably within like the first hour and a half of sunup. And we ate lunch, come back, hung out for a little while longer, and I shoot a buck. My first in the same day, man. And so, anyways, and that was a cool experience getting to shoot the deer. Not only did I get to shoot it, but they also got me hooked up with a guy who was getting my deer mounted, and and I got lucky on that aspect. But we're getting to work with so many different organizations, man. North Burnham Vet to Vet, that guy Willie, man, he's an old Army vet, man, wilder than a wood tick, dude. But he's out there doing a lot of good stuff in the veteran community, man. We're just trying to come together and you know, two people could do service dogs, right? Or let me say that. We'll say two people can do outdoors. Like you got, Wounded Warrior Project, and you got us. They somewhat could be in the same aspect, but at the same time, totally different. So we're trying to work with them. I know I got a meeting coming up tomorrow. I think so. We're working with everybody, trying to do as much stuff as we can. Combat the kayaks. They're up there. Up north. We're trying to work with everybody and just get guys out and, like I said, build that camaraderie and build into the networking, man. The networking is, I've met so many guys that are like, just does so many cool things. I'm like, hey, I really should have done something besides infantry. Like, I don't, like, I wish I'd have done something, something a lot cooler, but, yeah, it's been amazing so far. And like I said, man, I had no intentions of thinking it would get this way, but like I said, thanks to Ivy Tech and just all of our followers and our supporters, man, it's grown and it's growing fast. So
It's awesome. How's have you put in any more thought, any more effort to trying to get on bases here? Are you moving towards that goal at all? Has that happened? Being represented by MWR anywhere locally?
yeah, so I have talked to one guy at Crane once, but we didn't really talk details yet, but that's something I'm kind of like working on right now, man. We've got a team, a great team, man. I've got a great board. I got a Purple Heart recipient on there. I mean, so Nathan Simpson, my treasurer, man, he was on that little bitty cop rally in Afghanistan with me, in Marja. So that's kind of wild. We're still pretty close, but anyways, I don't remember what I was saying, but
I'd ask you, you had some conversations. You had a conversation too about the MWR.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh, so yeah, that's something. Like I said, I've got a lot going on, so that's something I would love to do. To be honest with you, my real goal would be to try to do something with like Ivy Tech because, like I said, I
Okay.
think if I could find a way to work with Ivy Tech and the MWRs, especially starting out here in Indiana, getting there and giving these guys an avenue to get into college and kind of that's one thing too. Like I mean I did go to IUPUC, which wasn't like IU, the big college, but going to a community college is big. I think that was nice for me in the college side instead of going to some big university. Like get in there, you're with a lot more older people. And Ivy Tech, they're real, like I said, they're hands on, man, and they got a lot of great programs they're doing. My goal, like I said, would be to hopefully get in with them at some point, if ever, or somebody that eventually get into these MWRs and give these guys a real pathway to bridge the gap. And like I said, it's a win for the veteran, man, and it's a win for the service member because I wish I had somebody to mentor me at least. I mean, it wouldn't matter if it was for a month or so. I'd be like, hey man, let's go fishing for a few days. Don't worry about going to formation for the week.
Yeah, man.
You got 3 hours go off me. We're going to hit a trail. We're going to go do this or insert whatever, but
Yeah.
that would be awesome, man.
It's like an awesome form of airplane mode, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Disconnect, go do something else, touch the grass, breathe the air, feel the dirt underneath your feet, get your hands wet with the water.
Yeah. And,
So
and you get to ask the questions, man. I mean, I wish I'd have had somebody, an older vet who'd been out for 10, 20 years, to say, hey, man, like, what am I looking at here? Because, man, I didn't, at all. I literally got out and I was sitting in a college classroom with a 2-year-old kid trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. You know what I mean? Um, and going back to the outdoor stuff though, I hate to, beat a dead horse, but like I've learned that getting out there behind a fishing pole, especially when you can go out with a buddy or, even by yourself if you need it. And that's what I was about the park pass, but is, instead of figuring all your life's problems out behind a liquor bottle or, drugs or whatever it is, insert whatever, I've sit and had some great conversations with myself and with other vets on these trails or, on a fishing pole and just talking about life, getting some shit off your chest. You know what I'm saying? Like no pressure. Try not, you know what I mean? You ain't got to tell me nothing. I guess my biggest thing is, you know, like me, like I don't mind talking combat stuff, but at the same time, like I try not to focus around that because I'm like, man, if I just keep my head in that all the time, I'll never stop thinking about it. It's like a loop. You got to take the good with the bad, and I try to help people out, and we're trying to do all the right things, and my goal is, while veteran suicide is extremely important, but my goal is to really be that fight beforehand. Before it gets to that point where you're sitting there thinking, okay, dude, this is it. I'm done. Why couldn't we stop that beforehand? And there's a
Mm.
lot of organizations out there like the VFW. We've got a lot of great help from VFW vets, Bloomington, VFW Fishers, a lot of these different organizations. Anyways, but it's one of those things where that's awesome, but at the same time, veterans can't be sitting in a bar all night. That's not, what I'm saying? There is camaraderie behind, sharing a beer after something, but like, if we're gonna do that, let's go out and let's go ruck 10 miles. You know what I mean? Then go out and have a beer and some lunch. You know what I mean? You appreciate it a lot more. And, it's just building that camaraderie, man, that tribe, man. And like I said, I wish I had something more solid when I got there.
Well, you found a need, right? You realized there was a gap, you realized there was a hole, and you've taken steps, man, uh, shrink that gap, man.
Yeah,
And it's I know the work that it takes to get into a 501(c)(3), the nonprofit organization going, man. You got to get the board, you got to get good with the IRS, and then while all that's going on, you got to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. And these reasons that you've told us here today have just been it sucks that it's needed, but you found a purpose, man, and you've decided to help others, because you're not the only one. I'm not the only one, right? We all have it. We all need it. I don't. I'll never let you win an argument saying that we don't, us veterans, others, that we don't have a need for meaningful transition, for meaningful care and love when we separate from the military. I don't care what your experiences are.
yeah,
It is just absolute commendable work that you're doing.
for sure.
You're spread out. You got all these different you got all these different aspects of wars or nature that are going on. You're hooked up with some amazing people, and they're all invested in your success, and in turn, you're going to be invested in their success, right? So this thing's going to. I mean, you have no other option, but because your passion for it is going to make sure that this thing continues to spread like a good cancer. So it affects everyone that it's able to. And I'm so thankful. I'm proud. I'm honored that there's guys like guys that are out there like you, because you could have given up, man.
Yeah,
Right? You could have said, "Fuck it,"
yeah,
right? And you could have been another number, man.
yeah,
And you didn't. And you said, "I'm staying in the fight. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to do everything I can that what I went through, I'm able to prevent someone else from going through that." And to me, that is just an absolute stupendous undertaking on your part, man. And I'm thrilled that you have people in your life that see the value in it, that want to help ensure that you're successful in that. So God bless everyone that's helping you, man, to get involved. You guys are doing something that's needed. You guys are doing something that others have thought about and haven't. Right. And you're doing something that maybe other people would have not have it in them to even think about doing it, man, and just accept the results that they've been presented with. So that is absolutely kick ass on your part, man. Absolutely. So thank you. Thank you for what you're doing for us, man. Thank you for what you're doing for the community. So
yeah. Thank you, man. And I couldn't do none of this like I said, if it wasn't my wife, man. She's helped me get through a lot of this. My wife and I do have gotten very lucky to have a good support system. Her whole family, we got to buy her grandfather's house, which he was he's a Marine, retired Marine, and he's a recruiter for a long time, and he did the Toys for Tots. He ran his own for a long time. So I'm honored to have a great family. On my wife's side, my mom, my brother, my sister. All those people, man. And like I said, it takes a tribe, dude, and it starts with the family. So like I said, with us, dude, it's all about the spouse, the family, the kids, man, and we all have to come together and make great things happen. So again, thank you so much, Chris, for having me on this podcast, man. This is great, dude, and I can't wait to.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. So what I want to do is we're going to keep a spot open for you. Like with everyone else, this microphone, this medium, this platform will always be available for you. If you got something kick-ass you want to brag about, if you need help on something, you got to make sure you call me, man. We'll get you right back. We'll get this going again. We'll put the word out, man, because I want to see you succeed, man. It's healthy for you. It's healthy for everyone. And I would love to hear from you in a future episode that this thing has grown and exploded. Your staff has improved, and this is what I'll do. All right. Your next hill will be to tell me that you got involved with Ivy Tech with them, that you've joined a partnership up with them, right? And then, then after that, man, focus on MWR. Then you come back and we'll get you on. And so I hope to hear that you're successful in that, man. So let me challenge you on that, man. Ivy Tech, make it happen.
Yeah, man. No, seriously. And again, I love everything you're doing, and your podcast, man. When you called and we talked, man, you told me your idea behind it, and I was like, dude, this is amazing, and I'm very appreciative. And I know I've already told a bunch of guys. I hope to spread what you're doing out here, and get a lot of these other stories out here of people doing great things, man. And you're doing great things by just doing that. So,
well, thank you, man. Thank you. It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure, and it's healing. It's healing. We talked about that offline. I don't want to get too much into it. I don't want to get emotional with people right now, man. But it is a definite. It's helping, man. So thank you, brother. So thanks, man. You're part of that. So thank you. So. Anything else? Any other shout outs, man? I'm going to get a whole bunch of these things, these organizations that we've spoken about. I got a whole bunch of notes. We'll talk offline. We'll go ahead and we'll get them linked up, and maybe I can see what we can do about getting some of those Heroes and Wildlife guys on. Maybe we can have a group discussion, about your involvement, their involvement. Maybe we can sit around for maybe an hour and just talk about, talk about the whole program. So is there anyone else you want to talk about? Is there any other former Marine brothers that you want to mention, or anything like that before we sign off here?
Yeah. First and foremost, I want to give a huge shout out to all the guys who have supported this, whether it's been, calling to ask if they can help, our donors, our sponsors, our partners. Like I said, I genuinely had no idea this was all going to transpire into this, man. I'm extremely grateful. I definitely want to give a shout out to all my guys at 3-6. Like I said, everybody from my senior Marines, Rankin, Champion, Nison, Buckwitz, man, all them guys, just such good guys. All the other guys, all my junior Marines, man, you guys know who you are. There's a whole bunch of them. So wanted to give a shout out to all my guys for 310. Nathan, my treasurer, man, like I said, we was in the same combat zone together in the thick of it, man. He was stationed in California. So we've been through it. My brother, my mom, like I said, everybody else. And then last but not least, AMVETS, Bloomington, dude, they've helped us out a lot, get us started. That was really the kind of anchor point getting us started. Small Town Nutrition's done a lot with us. Wheelock Heating and Cooling, out of I want to say Greensburg. I think it's Greensburg, Indiana. Heritage Investments, Insurance Investments, Simply Fitness, and then also I had the VFWs in Fishers, Indiana, Fishers Century Club, the Colts, and then again Heroes Wildlife Adventures. Sorry, man, it's a lot. But
it's all good. It's great, man. I mean, it just shows that the work you're doing is, if everyone sees that you have this thing going and they want to be part of it, man, that tells me, it tells viewers, man, that this guy's doing it, man.
Yeah.
This guy's doing it. And they want to be part of it because they recognize the work you're doing is important, and they see the value in it, and they want to help you with it. So it's great, man. That list could be an hour long, man, and I would still have a big smile on my face, man. So
I appreciate you giving me the time, man. I'm sure they're going to appreciate it too. So.
All right, my man. That's it. So thanks a lot, Russ. It was a great conversation, man. I can't wait to get all this put together and get it out there, man. So thank you, man. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, brother.
All right, that is it. We are feet dry. We are return to base. Thanks, everyone, for checking out the Not So Special Forces podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Chico are taking fire on